What if the greatest threat to your character isn't, your obvious flaws, but the way you handle your greatest virtues?
That is a really heavy question to start with.
Right. But today, we are looking at an ancient text where doing the exact right thing and then getting famous for it was considered a complete failure. Welcome to the deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
So we have a really fascinating single source in front of us today. It's this highly reflective, thought-provoking document that just zeroes in on one very specific, very brief passage from the Gospel of Mark, Mark chapter 1, verse 44.
Yeah, it's a very narrow focus.
It is, but our mission today is to decode this highly counterintuitive command given by Jesus in that text. And we want to uncover what it reveals about the hidden, quiet intentions of the human heart.
Because this text and the reflection we're exploring today, it isn't just a record of something that happened, 2 millennia ago in the ancient Near East.
Right.
It operates as this psychological and spiritual mirror held up to human motivation. It really demands that we look very closely at the why behind the what of our own actions.
Especially the actions we consider to be our most noble.
Exactly, the good things we do.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the inciting incident in this text, the event that sparks this entire reflection, it's a perfect example of something that completely defies our modern expectations of success and visibility.
It really does.
We start with Jesus healing a man who is afflicted with leprosy. And, we really need to understand what that actually meant in the first century, because it wasn't just a bad skin condition.
No, not at all. Leprosy in that era was, well, it was effectively a social and physical death sentence. The physical toll was horrific, obviously, but the isolation was arguably worse.
Yeah, you were totally cut off.
Completely. Under the social and religious laws of the time, someone with leprosy was entirely cast out from their community. They were required to live outside the city, wear torn clothes, and actually shout the word unclean if anyone approached them. Yeah, they were cut off from their family, their friends, their livelihood, their religious community. So to be healed of this disease was to be given your humanity back.
It's a massive, life-altering moment of restoration.
A complete rebirth, really.
A completely miraculous act.
Yeah.
And naturally, you would think this is the moment for a grand reveal, right?
Yeah.
Like if you cure something incurable today, you hold a press conference.
You'd be on every major news network by the evening.
Exactly. It's like having the ultimate viral moment, the kind of PR most people would pay millions for, and then intentionally unplugging the internet router.
That's a great way to put it.
Because instead of drawing a crowd and leveraging the moment, Jesus gives this man a very firm, clear instruction. He says, say nothing to anyone, but go and show yourself to the priest and offer the sacrifices required by the law.
Right.
Why demand silence after such a massive, undeniable victory?
Well, the source material breaks down that exact question by looking at the mechanical realities of the first century world, which were obviously very different from our modern sensibilities.
Because we are totally geared toward promotion and visibility.
Exactly. But the text provides a twofold answer, starting with the sheer logistics of divine timing. Jesus was operating in a highly volatile environment. First century Judea was a powder keg under Roman occupation.
Right. Things were tense.
Very tense. So if word spreads uncontrollably that a man is roaming the countryside healing the incurable, he doesn't just become a popular religious teacher, he becomes a spectacle.
He becomes a political pawn.
Yes.
Yeah.
The crowds become a mob, and suddenly people are looking for a king to overthrow the Romans.
Which completely derails everything.
Exactly. A massive, unruly crowd actually traps him. It logistically prevents him from traveling into towns to teach, which was his primary mission. The text points out that Jesus knew public excitement could actively hinder the specific path he was appointed to walk. If the masses rallied around him simply as a miracle worker, it would distort the deeper purpose of his presence. The spectacle would just completely overwhelm the substance of the message.
It's almost like running a covert rescue mission behind enemy lines. Like if you set off fireworks to celebrate saving the first hostage, you immediately draw hostile attention and completely ruin your chances of saving anyone else. The applause literally sabotages the mission.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
But the logistics of the crowd are really only the surface layer of the answer here.
Okay.
The second part of the explanation dives into something foundational about the nature of Christ himself. What's fascinating here is how the source notes that though he possessed all authority, he actively refused to promote himself through human praise.
He just wouldn't do it.
Right. Throughout his ministry, whether he was healing the sick, casting out demons, performing miracles, he consistently avoided drawing attention to himself in a way that would build a personal brand.
He had ultimate power, but refused to leverage it for personal fame, which the text defines as the core of true humility.
Yes.
Like, it's not denying the power you have. It's not pretending you didn't just heal someone or walking around with this fake sense of incompetence. It's the conscious refusal to use real power for self-exaltation.
The authority is absolute, but the rejection of human applause is equally absolute. His works pointed not to his own earthly recognition, but entirely to the glory of the Father.
Everything flowed from obedience and returned glory outward, never inward.
And that completely upends how human beings usually think about influence. I mean, we assume that if you have power, the logical next step is to make sure everyone knows you have it.
But dodging the crowd is the easy part, isn't it? Because the real trap the author warns about isn't what happens in the public square, it's what happens in our own heads when we do something good.
Oh, absolutely.
Understanding why Jesus demanded that silence naturally transitions us into the text's deepest exploration of what true humility actually looks like. And honestly, how easily we fake it.
We are very good at faking it.
We really are. The document makes this very sharp distinction right at the beginning between speaking with gentle language, which is just the appearance of lowliness, and the true measure of humility.
The author actually poses a really fascinating diagnostic question for the reader. They ask, is humility revealed through our vocabulary, or is it proven through our hidden reactions?
Wow.
Because many people know how to speak with gentle language. They know the cultural script for appearing humble. They know how to deflect a compliment in public.
Oh, it was nothing, right?
Exactly. But the source warns that the true measure is buried beneath the surface in the quiet, unpoliced intentions of the heart.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, and I have to push back a little on the text's strictness here.
Sure, go ahead.
Let's say you do something genuinely good. You help someone, you volunteer, maybe God uses you to comfort someone in a really dark place, or you build a program that helps hundreds of people. Isn't it natural to want some credit?
I mean, yes, it's natural.
Like, why is the text so concerned with us quietly enjoying the visible results or the human influence we might have? I mean, we are human beings. We run on positive reinforcement.
And the source actually anticipates that exact human tendency. The danger, the text highlights, isn't the feeling of joy that a good thing occurred.
Okay.
The danger is a psychological mechanism where we use fake humility as a currency to buy double the praise. We say all glory to God with our lips, while inwardly delighting that we were the instrument chosen to do it.
Oh, man. So we want the applause for the good deed, and we want everyone to be amazed at how humble we are about it. It's like a double payout for the ego.
Yes, that subtle internal shift is what makes it so dangerous. It rarely looks like open boasting. We don't usually stand on a stage and declare our own greatness.
No, that would be too obvious.
Right. Instead, we casually drop into conversation the impressive ministries we are involved in. We highlight how God has worked through us, framing it spiritually, but strategically ensuring that the listener knows we were in the room when the miracle happened.
The spiritual humble brag.
Exactly.
The text says we subtly cherish the thought that God is using us in a special way. We dress our ego up in religious language. We might post a photo of our volunteer work with a caption about being so humble to serve, but we are obsessively checking the metrics on that post. We want the likes. We want the visible impact.
And the document explicitly calls out how this bleeds into the way we evaluate success. We encourage people to attend gatherings, or we promote certain speakers or programs, not purely for the underlying mission, but because we are mesmerized by the metrics of success.
The crowd size, the social media reach, all of that visible influence.
Exactly. We attach our own identity to those metrics.
Meaning we build the very publicity-based ministry that Jesus intentionally avoided. Like, when we secretly crave that recognition, we were operating in direct opposition to the model he set when he told the healed man to walk away and say nothing. We are seeking the massive crowd that he deliberately walked away right from.
The contrast is stark. He rejected the metrics of human influence because he knew they were a distraction from obedience. When we prioritize our personal branding, even in a spiritual context, we are trying to steal the glory that the text insists belongs solely to the Father.
So how do we actually escape this psychological trap? Because self-promotion just feels like the default setting of the human brain.
It does, but the source moves into a beautifully practical analogy here. a framework to adopt what it calls a truly humble posture of the soul. It introduces the metaphor of an instrument.
Okay, I love this part.
This is the pivot from the diagnosis of the human ego to the prescription for human freedom. The text states, an instrument does not boast of the music it produces. The beauty of the melody belongs to the one who plays it.
Think about a beautifully crafted violin like a Stradivarius. If a master musician picks it up and plays a concerto that brings the audience to tears, no one in the concert hall stands up and applauds the wood and the strings.
Right, they applaud the master whose hands created the music.
The instrument was entirely necessary. It was used. But the genius, the artistry, belongs completely to the musician.
And the source applies this directly to human existence. In the same way that the wood cannot claim credit for the symphony, any good that flows through a human life is solely the work of God. Our role is simply to be the wood and the strings.
To be available.
Available, obedient, and faithful in the hands of the master.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Because if you are hearing this and wondering how to actually apply this idea of say nothing in a modern world, the text clarifies that this isn't a literal gag order. You don't have to take a vow of absolute silence and move to a cave.
No, definitely not. It is not a prohibition on speaking about good things. The command to say nothing functions as a radical ego check. It means that when you do speak, your aim must be relentlessly focused.
The aim is to lift up Jesus, not to cement your own role in the story, to testify of his grace, not your usefulness. I love that specific phrasing from the source, not our usefulness. We spend so much of our lives exhausted trying to prove to the world, to our peers, and to ourselves just how useful we are.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the source is ultimately calling the reader to do something incredibly difficult to disappear.
Wow.
But it qualifies that carefully, stating, not in the sense that our lives lack purpose, but in the sense that our names become less important while his name becomes everything.
That is a direct assault on a culture obsessed with personal branding. I mean, we are constantly told to optimize our image, to build our platform, to ensure we get the credit we deserve. The idea of intentionally letting your name become less important sounds like career suicide or social irrelevance.
It sounds crazy today.
Yeah.
But it is a radical psychological framework for detaching your self-worth from public perception. If you tie your worth to the applause, you are a slave to the audience.
Always performing.
You constantly have to perform to maintain your status. But if you embrace the posture of the instrument, if you truly believe that the melody belongs to the master, you are suddenly free from the exhausting burden of managing your own image.
True humility, according to this reflection, isn't just speaking less of ourselves or speaking poorly of ourselves. It is thinking less about ourselves altogether. It is a deep, sincere recognition that we are nothing more than instruments. So when Jesus tells that healed man, say nothing, it transcends a logistical command for first-century Judea. The text calls it a posture of the soul.
It is an invitation to silence the inner voice that is constantly demanding recognition, constantly calculating how a good deed will look to others. It is the freedom to let Christ be seen, even if you are entirely forgotten in the process.
Even if you are entirely forgotten, that is heavy. Let's take a second to recap the journey we've been on, because we've pulled a lot of threads together from this single passage in our 9-minute deep dive today.
We really have.
We started with a confusing, counterintuitive command from Jesus to a man. He just healed of a devastating, isolating disease. Say nothing to anyone. We unpacked the mechanisms behind that, the logistical reality that a massive crowd would actually trap him and sabotage the physical mission, and the deeper theological reality of his refusal to build a ministry on human applause.
Which then served as a diagnostic mirror for our own hidden intentions. We explored the subtle danger of the spiritual humble brag, the psychological trap where we use the appearance of lowliness to secretly mine for double the praise. We looked at how easily we claim credit while pretending to surrender it.
And then we arrived at the profound freedom found in the instrument metaphor. The realization that you don't have to generate the genius, you don't have to demand the applause or manage the PR for your own good deeds. You just have to be the wood and the strings, available in the hands of the master.
The source closes with a powerful, lingering plea to the reader, summarizing this entire shift in perspective. It challenges us directly. Be content to be unknown, if only Christ is made known. Be willing to step back, if only his glory shines more brightly. Let your life be a quiet testimony, not of your strength, but of his grace.
Be content to be unknown. That goes against almost every natural instinct we possess in a hyper-connected world. But the peace in that idea, the absolute relief of stepping off the stage and not having to constantly prove your usefulness, is profound. It leaves you with something really important to mull over as you go about your day. If an instrument's greatest purpose is to be played by the master, what beautiful music might be getting silenced in your life right now simply because you're too busy trying to be the composer instead of just letting yourself be played?